Hi, I'm River. This is the fountain that I've done as part of my Eagle project. And the rest of my Eagle project, I'm doing a lot of things in this garden to help them out. I made another fountain, which is over there. And I also did some other miscellaneous tasks. So before I get into how to make this fountain, I'm going to tell you why I made this fountain the way I made it. So this garden, it has some special requirements that were needed in order to make a good fountain. So one of the things is that there is not really any kind of running water in here. So I had to make this fountain self-sufficient, which means that it has to have a very large reservoir, which you can see right here. And another requirement is that there's no electricity in this little area here, which means that it also needs to be autonomous, I guess, in terms of electricity, which is why we've got this solar panel right here. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges in designing a fountain like this is having the right pump. And the pump that I used, it was ordered off Amazon, and I think it's 82 gallons per minute or hour. I'll put links to what I used, because one of the problems is that if the fountain is too powerful, it can get really splashy and it can lose water very fast because it's shooting the water all over the place. So having the right size of pump for the right size of fountain is important. And another thing we had to do was we had to drill a whole lot of holes in many of these things because a lot of them don't have holes in them. While the flower pots do already have holes in them, these plates do not. So what we used were these special drill bits that we got that are designed for drilling through pottery and tile. They're sort of like a cylinder shape with diamonds on the edges, and you can put them onto any old normal drill and try to drill downwards into each place so you can make a good hole from which you can put the tube through so that the water can go up. I'll also show some video of me drilling this stuff. So the way we do our drilling is that we usually will start out by pouring some water, because drilling through this ceramic creates a lot of dust that can be dangerous. So pouring water will not only help keep the drill cool, but also prevent dust from flying around everywhere. So what we like to do first is sort of approach this from an angle and start drilling at an angle. And then once the drill is sort of bitten into the material a little bit, start to go further and further into a vertical position like this, and just keep on drilling and pressing down until you get through and make a hole, and it'll pop out like a little sort of button after that from the what's been cut out, and then you'll have your hole for ceramic. Okay, so another thing that we had to deal with was the depth of these plates. So you've probably already seen a few photos of birds drinking from here. They especially seem to like these top two tiers because they're deep enough to hold enough water for them to drink from, but they're not so deep so as, they wouldn't be able to stand at the edge and drink. So finding plates that are of this sort of depth is something important. So another concern that has been brought up is the potential for mosquitoes to lay eggs in this water if it ever gets stagnant. And so something that we've considered, that we've designed these plates for, is that if the sun were to go away and the solar panel were to stop providing electricity, many of these things have small holes drilled in them so that water can drain out, or they already have gaps in the middle hole so that water can drain through. And for the reservoir, because obviously it's always stagnant, in the hole where a mosquito could most likely enter, in this big drainage hole right here, we put a little piece of mesh in there so that water can get through but mosquitoes cannot. And it should be completely drained within 5 minutes if the power goes out suddenly. So one of the biggest challenges we faced in designing these fountains was how to keep them level, especially because a lot of terrain is slightly tilted one way or the other. What we had to do was use several things. So something that we did was we have this sort of paper thingy that we placed the fountain on so that it would be a flat surface. And we also moved this gravel around and made sure that it was level. So now we're gonna take apart this fountain to show you how it is constructed. So first, before we kind of want to deconstruct it, we want to cut off the power. So here is the solar panel. One thing about it is that it is very sensitive to changes in the sun. So you can see if I were to put my hand over it, it stops. And then I take my hand back off and it starts up again. So what we do usually if we're gonna fix this fountain or something is that we like to flip the solar panel like this, that there's no way any sun can get there. Because having the motor run outside of water is very bad for it and will damage it. So we'll just put our panel right here. And water will start draining in a few minutes. Okay, so here is the hole that we put a little bit of mosquito netting in so that mosquitoes can't get in here. And you'll notice there are some other drainage holes besides this main one. Here's these three little ones that we just drilled in with normal drills. And they help drain it a lot. So here's our spout. It creates like a laminar flow so that it doesn't get all splashy everywhere. We can pull up the tube. It's pretty thick so that it doesn't splash around everywhere. We can take out the thing so that it doesn't prevent us from taking off the rest of the pieces. Just put it down here. And here's our first top segment. You can see it's been glued together with a special, like what's called liquid nails. And it's very sturdy and waterproof so that it creates a module, so that it's a modular system. And we've got a flower pot here that we just used as a base. And then we've got our plate, which is the top part. And then here's our next piece. This was donated, and it's got a flower pot underneath it as well. You can lift it up, and the tube will go down like that. Yeah. And it's also glued together so that it's a modular thing. Got a flower pot down there. Put that there. And then here's our plate. This is what drains the water into the reservoir. And it's going to pull it off like this. So here's the top plate. You can see that the mosquito netting has been put in with some liquid nails as well. It's waterproof and very sturdy and whatever. Got our little divot here for the wire. And we also have all our little holes here for drainage. And then here's the reservoir. It is full of water, as you can see. It's also looking a little bit gross, so we're going to want to drain this out occasionally. We can drain it out this way. Just move myself over here. Okay, so here's our pump, and it's 196 gallons per hour at 24 volts. I guess that's how powerful it is. You can see it's got some little stickies down here, which can be helpful when putting it down. And so you want to put it down sort of like this. This water's cold. Okay. So we're gonna put this thing on here. You can see we've got this little tube here, and we want to sort of put it over it. And it kind of sticking up a little bit right here. Tap it down. Yeah. So the sun just came out and it's flowing much faster now, as you can see and hear. So really this thing depends on how much sunlight there is. So during the summer, it's probably going to be a lot easier to run this fountain. Okay, so as you can see, this fountain is ever so slightly tilted towards this side because you can see a lot more water is flowing here. And while this is okay, it could be better. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little sort of a wooden fragment that we have here to try to make this a little more level. So here's our little stick. It's made it a lot more even. And you can see it's dripping more so evenly, although it's still a little to the side. You can still, it's mostly symmetrical. And you have to do some things like that, like improvise when trying to look for solutions to problems like levelness. To account for this sun weirdness, we plan to at some point make a pedestal or a stand for that solar panel to be on so that it gets more consistent sunlight because of the walls that surround this garden. So one of the main attractants for birds in the garden would obviously be native plants that are suited to their tastes, but also having a source of water that they can drink and bathe in also helps, and the sound of flowing water tends to attract birds. There are numerous photos of birds that like to come over here and drink. Oh, all right. So when we were looking for a fountain, I initially thought that we should buy one from Home Depot or something, but we quickly found that this has some pretty unique constraints for this garden. So we just saw this video about someone making a DIY fountain and thought maybe we should just make this with pottery. And a few pieces are store-bought, and most of them were donated from other people. So it works pretty well even if we made it ourselves.